and welcome to this version of Own the Journey. Thank you for joining us. This is where we focus on bringing great business leaders to the table to share their wisdom with you. And today we are super excited to meet with Mr. Jack Stack, who is the founder and one of the original members with SRC. Jack, thanks for being with us.
It's nice to be here.
Appreciate it. And for those that don't know SRC and what you've put together, maybe just describe a little bit about the SRC family of companies.
Okay, in around 1983, it was basically a garage shop in Springfield, Missouri, and we were able to, as associates, purchase the company from a very large OEM, and we began to apply some simple principles that we hadn't necessarily learned when we were in the industrial age, and we got to be in the information age. Then we grew a company based on sharing information with everybody inside the company on what makes companies great. And since 1983, we have been running an organization which actually promotes entrepreneurs, and we spin off businesses once our entrepreneurs understand the business. So in the last 40 years, we've spun out 65, 66 different companies.
Wow.
So we got to cover a range of topics here.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but really, you've taken manufacturing and turned it into manufacturing entrepreneurs, which
absolutely, yeah.
Okay, that's so fun. So, when you've obviously been exposed to a lot of things and challenges through all of those situations, what are some of the biggest mistakes that you see entrepreneurs or new business owners make for the first times or as they're launching? What are they getting wrong?
That's a great question. I keep thinking about it. At what particular period of time are we talking about? I mean, I've been through now 4 recessions and a pandemic. Okay, so at each one of these things, new behaviors kind of come out. New businesses today are somewhat liquid because they're given so much of the stimulus money. Okay, I mean, and we have much more businesses today than we had prior to the pandemic, if you think about it, because if it was like a recession, you would have lost all these businesses, there would have been a shakeout, and then everything would. So the thinking today of the small businesses is, just, my God, don't get ahead of your skis. I mean, don't use all this money that you have right now and absolutely think that there isn't going to be a time where it's going to come due,
right,
and you're going to have to pay the piper, and there's no such thing as a free lunch, okay? So it's really hard to hold them back right now because they have such liquidity, they have borrowing power, okay, they have an unbelievable market that you can penetrate. I mean, everything looks absolutely spectacular. So what you got to do with this generation is, you could fail.
Yeah.
Okay.
Winter is coming.
Yeah, it's coming. Yeah, it goes up and down.
Right.
Okay, and that's a very hard thing. How do you teach 20-somethings about 20 years later?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a real challenge.
That is the biggest challenge we got right now.
Yeah,
we want them to come in, we want them to have a career. They can kill us about a career right now. Okay. Yeah.
They just want to do their thing and have the flexibility, which kind of feeds into one of the areas that I know you're passionate about, and that is serving people and doing it well. But you're seeing this massive need to transform HR departments or the ways that HR has historically functioned versus what you see coming in the future.
We're kind of like you. We've been trying to transform business for 40 years. I mean, we actually. When we become business people, we didn't realize there was a whole new way of thinking as a business owner or as a business leader. We basically worked for a big company all our entire life, and what we knew was only big company tactics. We knew how to make a part, or we knew how to meet a schedule. Okay, but to know what it took to make a successful company, we were never told. Our thinking was just absolutely to the product, not the company itself.
Right.
When we came into the situation to buy this company, we thought we could rely on building products alone. Okay, we didn't know the statistics of business. We didn't know the business plans. We didn't know the ratios, okay? So our transformation was quite amazing because we got to this particular point was, why do we have 2 sets of specifications of a business? Why do we teach people only to serve and make, okay, a product or service? Right. Or why don't we ask them to make a great company? What would happen if we said, hey, you're in this thing long term to make a outrageously successful company? What would happen? Would you have a worse product or would you have a better product? Right. Okay. So when we were able to then purchase this business, and we went through the entire process of getting capital, we knew that there was one way to be thinking about the business, and that would be on how to create an outstanding company. And the only way we could do that was by educating the people in terms of what it took to change their thinking of not only making a product but also making a company.
Right.
Once we were working on that really became our secret sauce, and that's what transformation we've been trying to serve everybody, to say that capitalism can work. There's a bright side of capitalism. Mm-hmm. It's about not only the creation of wealth, but it's the distribution of wealth as equitably as you possibly can.
I love it.
And it's a broad-based ownership mentality, okay? And then the idea is that everybody understands the rules. Mm-hmm. The rules are open. You balance it with a scorecard, which you get anyways, but then you have this massive stake in the outcome. That is what the objective is. That's the why. That's the purpose, all right? So.
And that birthed the great game of business.
Yeah, it birthed it, and it birthed meetings like this, where you connect with people, and people have the similar thoughts, all right? And like when we wrote a first book about the process, the only reason the book sold is because it was in everybody's heart that they wanted to do it, but they didn't have the guts to do it.
Right.
Everyone was petrified to open books, okay? They didn't want to be transparent, okay?
Yeah.
There's secrets in being transparent, okay? And I lose my power and my authority, but once we opened it, everybody said, I knew that was really a good idea, okay? I've been thinking about that a long time, and
right.
So that's how it all started. And once it started with the book, then it started with the idea, and then people wanted to see what was going on, and we've just been, I think we really believe that it is absolutely the right thing to do, and education will really only become, I think it'll really take a really significant part in running business in the future. Mm-hmm. We got to be the educators.
Right.
If we don't educate what we got, then we're going to lose what we got. So, it's only make good business sense, right?
Well, yeah, and you're taking it from the business concepts and you're taking it down to the individual, so they become better. You're investing in them, and not only do they have a bigger stake in your race or in the company itself, but it helps to fulfill them in life, and serving the human is what it's all about. And
getting back to your question, is that we started this around 2017, this HR mindset that we got to get them a seat at the table, all right? We just cannot get them to be only a regulatory agency or a principal's office.
Yeah.
That if in fact we're going to go through this cultural change in terms of people being different coming in, mm-hmm. environments becoming more broad, less people in terms of the marketplace, the human resource side of it all of a sudden just becomes the critical number in any business.
Right,
you can just, an entrepreneur can really see that whoever has the people in 2025, 2026, you can demand a price for your business just based on the people inside your organization. So, mm-hmm. so one of the things we started in 2017 was to be able to expand our HR investments, and we began those investments and we broadened out the organization. The interesting part is that we got hit by the pandemic, okay, and then all of a sudden HR is being back to regulatory, nurses, medicine advisors, protective of distancing, and just throw that mad scramble in. And so, but where we are today is that, we still need this culture. Okay, we need this culture of people that everybody is collectively working together, and you're utilizing those resources. So what we're trying to do is tell everybody, hey, let's reboot. Let's have a revolution in HR. If we want to see better productivity, if we want to see better alignment, if we really want to be able to form a communication channel where we can see where people can really make a difference, mm-hmm. okay, let's get together. So I'm on this big kick about, but I came from HR departments that didn't even know you existed, okay, let alone be participative, okay.
Yeah, well, I think what really resonates with me about all that is, one of my big beliefs is that when you build a business, you put people at the center of the business. That's really gonna help not only the individuals, but it's gonna help the company to evolve. But what I just heard you say is that's gonna be the lever that you can pull in the future that really drives success or failure, profitability, non-profitability, and candidly, like market control to a certain degree.
You have to change the perceptions, because the negative perceptions are overwhelming right now when you add government and their thinking relative to business, okay? Mm-hmm. So media is one way, and then legislation is another way. Nobody really talks about the brighter side of it, okay? The more pleasant side of it. It's like, the theory is that if it bleeds, it leads, And so who's going to be the ones that are going to change the perceptions of the people coming into work or coming into a company or coming into an organization? Are they going to do Google it? Or are they going to go to Glassdoor? Or, are we going to let them really decide, to set the perception of what business is really all about?
Or are we going to own it and then drive our own?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Let's go with the best practices.
Yeah, I love it. And so when it comes to the great game and how you've been able to implement and roll that out, I mean, how do you get people bought in to the idea?
You trick them.
You trick them.
You got no other alternative but to trick them into learning. Because first of all, when you said that you will be able to read an income statement, a balance sheet, or cash flow, they want to run out the door.
Yeah.
Okay, see, they have these perceptions that they're not allowed to see them. This is confidential data. I may not understand them. I may be stupid. We've never ever enlightened them in terms of where we're at. I mean, look at what the literacy rate is today in our society. Geez, it's ironic that we're in April, is Financial Literacy Month. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's crazy that we recognize that they don't know, but we don't have anybody in there teaching them. So what we tried to do was develop an accelerated learning process to get them to get it.
Right.
Okay, how do you read the statistics of a successful business? All right, how do you look at the ratios that all the private equity firms are looking at who make nothing or serve nothing? Why can't it be for those people that are making stuff and serving others? Okay, so closing that gap, all right, we struggled for a long time to try to figure out what it was, because perception was there, fear was there, failure was there. Okay, so we had to develop we went to people and say, hey, business is no different than monopoly. It's no different than making a brownie. It's no different. We had to explain to them that what it is, it's rules. They're set by markets. And so we got to tell them is that the bad guy in the office, bad lady in the corporate office is not setting the rules. The marketplace sets the rules, but no one tells them about the marketplace, or that they are the marketplace. Right. Second one is that our benchmarking was all wrong. We were benchmarking things around the product, not necessarily about the company. So we gave them the statistics of the income statement and the balance sheet. Okay, that was true markings, because that's where we all wanted to go together. Okay, why would we have two systems that sits there and says, oh, but I can't tell you this scorecard that we want to achieve, but you're going to have to do it in the blind. Okay, so you accelerated that learning process by changing the scorecards. And then the third thing, you can't have a game without what's in it for me. You got to have a game. So we developed this phraseology, the great game of business, by convincing them that they could have the confidence to play this game. And we treated it as if I was going to teach my grandkids tens or Uno or something of that nature. You start with that repetitive nature, and that's what the game is all about. And it's been a repetitive system. Okay, that's not boring, because you're all current time, right? You're doing all your projections and everything. Make it where it's fun. If it's fun, then they're more than willing to take a look at it, all right? And then you got them, all right? You got them when they start asking questions. And when they start asking questions, oh my God, all the things you can bring out of the stories of critical numbers and financials. And I know I sound sick that you can really make and animate a number. Okay.
No, it doesn't sound sick at all to me. It sounds like a lot of fun. I mean,
it is. It's supposed to be fun. We're supposed to be fun.
Yeah, you're supposed to enjoy your job every day.
Right.
Yeah. So what do you say to business owners that are really concerned about sharing their financials? I mean, it's a little bit like look at, I'm 70 something right now, right? Up to 70, I would come up with a real long reasons. I'm telling these people how I feel sorry for you, and it's okay and it's safe. Now at 7, I just said, you're stupid. You're stupid. You just need to do it. Like,
I mean, I get to the point where it's common sense. Why would you want two systems? Why would you sit there and go, I want this 15-20% return, but then you micromanage the operation to be able to get this big number, but they don't even know what the number is. All they're concerned is about this micro element that doesn't mean anything.
Right.
So why wouldn't you leapfrog their mentality and then you increase productivity by taking constraints out of the process? Don't have two systems.
Yeah, I love it. So what about an organization that might be in a little bit of financial trouble where the financials don't look good?
Yeah, but people react better to those.
Oh, really? They get behind it?
Oh, sure. People love coming from behind.
Yeah, well, that's
okay. And people are totally paranoid when you're winning with a lead. Okay, you worry more when you're winning with a lead, okay, because now you're wondering whether or not you still got your competitive edge. Are you getting rusty in a few little areas, okay? Where's the next shoe going to drop? Then you may make moves to think the shoe's going to drop and it's really not going to drop, okay? And so, no, you got to play the game.
I love it a lot. When you have gone through those experiences, share with us one or two of your favorite stories where the light bulb has gone off for your team.
Oh, listen, I could sit here all day long and tell you stories that you wouldn't believe. One of them is, we were just talking about being out in Colorado Springs when New Belgium Brewery first started. Okay, I was at the opening of that. I was at the opening of their employee ownership program. We did a tour in Australia before Australia had small businesses. Okay, we were on 60 Minutes in Australia, and the Australian government asked us to go throughout the entire country and to explain to the people why small business were really important. Now, what happened was that there was a longshoreman strike, and they're an island, and the strike virtually shut down the country. Okay.
Oh, wow.
So they said, look, we got to be thinking long term. We just can't rely on big businesses, all right? There's a resiliency in the United States that if there's a recession, we got small businesses to pull back on. And so we went to Australia, and we went for almost 9 days. We went from one point of Australia to the other point of Australia and did 11 speeches, in terms of why businesses are so important, all right? And I remember going out to an audience at the Capitol, and I asked this guy, I said, do you have any idea what I'm saying? And the guy says, oh, no. He said, I'm third generation government. And he goes, I don't have any idea what you're talking about. And I said, so why are you here? And he goes, oh, because we got time off, I said, oh, well, it makes a lot of sense to bring me over from the United States to go through.
Yeah.
I also did a 2-year stint in Zambia, where we were hired by the government to be able to, 90% of their GDP is in copper mining. And so I spent years in copper mines, 5 miles below the surface, teaching people business in terms of how they make money in copper, and they put together like a 30-foot financial statement in their mines, so when the people would go to the mines in the morning, they would pick up bread and water and then go to work, but they'd see the outcomes, the numbers and everything of this nature, and it turned the entire country around. I mean, it's crazy how common sense this is.
Yeah.
Okay, it is common sense.
Yeah, that's insane. But you're talking about absolutely transforming the lives of hundreds and
Transformer. It does transformer. I mean, it does. It's amazing once you get someone to the point of getting it, change their life forever. It's a game changer.
Yeah, I think that's such a gift. So for you all that have birthed all of these businesses and influenced all these other businesses, how do you keep it all straight? I mean, I've talked.
Same report card. It all consolidates into an income statement, balance sheet, and cash flow statement. It's just, I have a great group of people. I mean, I can back out on my driveway and have all the financial information on my phone before I hit my neighbor's box if I got bad news. I've only hit the box twice backing up. So someone gave me some bad news. I didn't hit the brake on time, but no, the information is it's like you just don't have to wait to the end of a basketball game to see what the final score is in the last 2 minutes. Okay, in business you can see the score every 2 minutes. Okay, now the idea, I think, in order to be successful, is you have to work through the boredom. Okay, you gotta, you can't have something that's repetitive and it doesn't get stale. Okay, or people get used to it. So the idea is that if you want to change culture and behavior, it's going to be repetition, but you got to make the repetition exciting. Okay,
I love that.
Yeah. So if you can work beyond the boredom, okay, you're going to be better than most people. Okay, because that's the key. Okay,
Right.
Everybody stops when it gets boring. Okay, but to figure out how to go a little bit beyond the boredom, is a big difference inside of a company.
Well, what you're talking about is applying the creativity to how you handle the financials, like you would HR inside the business. It's bringing creativity to the table.
And it's cause for celebration on every single line.
Yeah.
You got something that you can celebrate. You got something to win. You could go take an income statement, break it down to its general ledger, and have a name against every one of those people, and they own that line.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And then it's their victory, and it's their,
High five.
Yeah, once they get the victory, they don't need you, right?
Yeah.
So once they get the victory, I don't have to see all that other stuff.
Yeah. So I think what I hear you say is it relates to the most complicated and crazy things that you're dealing with. Really, you're breaking it down and you're simplifying it so that it's easy and digestible. It's really clear as much as you can, and then making it fun, making it a journey that everybody is contributing to.
But there's an element of freedom in this, okay?
Yeah.
There's an element of freedom because we trust them and we delegate all that information, okay? And you build this incredible trust where everybody begins to realize that you need each other to succeed. I mean, you cannot consolidate the stories of a financial system without having an outcome, okay? Mm-hmm. You can't get away from, you can't emotionally sit there and soul yourself, okay, if you got negative net worth, okay?
Yeah.
All right, there is a sense of building, there's a sense of teamwork. I just saw the financial statements as bringing the team together. You know, everybody has their different subsidiaries and everybody has their reasons to be there, okay? But they're be there for the collective interest of everybody inside the company.
Right.
That's what I think a democracy is supposed to be all about, okay? Is that everybody's in it for the best interest of somebody else, okay?
Right.
But that's the perceptions that we have to, that's the negativity that prevents us from really looking at the positive things. So why not try to create an environment where somebody feels good about what they do every single day? That's tough work, okay?
Yeah.
But you have it right in front of you, okay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I love what you said.
Or I'm really messed up. Okay?
No,
They're very possibly completely messed up.
I think your outcomes prove otherwise. I think one of the cool things that I just heard you say that you guys do that I think so many other companies fail to do is you guys trust first. And you trust the employee and you show that trust first and foremost before you expect anything back.
You have to have that to adapt. If you don't have that, it's very hard to adapt to the changes that occurs in your businesses. Let's go HR 2017. We wanted to make this really, really big. We doubled our investment in terms of its people, knowing fully well that we're going to face a significant shortage of talent going forward, right? Mm-hmm. Boom, you hit this pandemic, all right? Life begins to change. You got to come up with a completely new process, a new theory, you know, to be able to get rid of the fear that everybody has inside of your organization. And you build on that kind of a relationship, that kind of trust, okay, where everybody understands that, hey, we got to get vaccinated if we're going to be able to grow the business. And, you know, it's not only an individual right. I mean, we never stepped on anybody's toes during the entire process. We just said, do what's right for the good of the community, right? And it kind of simplifies the I don't think people have enough reasons, okay, in order for us to figure out how to participate, because we don't give them the opportunity to participate. It means that even when you get into something, fail fast, don't hold somebody responsible for it, give them the freedom to succeed or fail, but also be there when they gotta, pick them up, Right.
Yeah, I love it. So tell us a little bit about your $100 million plan, and I mean, obviously there's big things going on there.
Well, which plan are you talking about? This one or the one 10 years ago?
Well, I guess.
Okay, so we do a lot of strategic thinking. We go to the wisdom of the crowd. A lot of participation from our people to try to figure out what we want to be when we grow up. And one of the things that we've been through is that every 10 years we kind of go through a downturn. We go through some unexpected surprise. But every time there's been an unexpected surprise, because our condition and financially is good, it's allowed us to be able to buy things during a down period of time. In other words, typically when there's a recession, everybody sells assets at a very cheap price. Buildings, material, brand names, everything gets sold and it's discounted to beyond belief. I mean, we were buying, in 2009, we were buying buildings at $10 a square foot. Okay, now think about that.
Yeah.
Today it's $60 a square foot minimum to build. And just think of the value that we got because we were ready for a downturn. So when 09 hit, it was like the third one we got, and or the fourth one we got, because it started in 83 with a recession. So we figured there was going to be a recession in 2020. Okay, we didn't know what it was in 2009, 2010. So we said, let's get ready for the recession. So we all got together and we said, we need to form a $100 million package. We've got to take it out of our earnings. We'll hold it in the side. And then when the next recession hit, we'll buy enough to be able to double size of our business in a 5-year period of time following it.
That's brilliant.
Okay. No, it wasn't brilliant. It had happened to us. You see, it had already happened to us. And all we were doing was remembering, no, we bought businesses for ridiculously low prices, okay? And so our plan was to get it ready and to go to buy the market. Well, we didn't get the recession, we got the pandemic, okay? And what happened was that no asset values went down, no prices went down, okay? And we still had this $100 million, right?
I've got some thoughts as it relates to the first part of our conversation, because one of the first things that you said was, how do you get an entrepreneur, a young entrepreneur, 20-something, to plan for the future? But that's exactly what you guys are doing. And so it's like you've got the evidence that is valuable if you can just translate that.
That's the change in HR, though. The change in HR has got to be guidance counselors now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree.
Because we missed the guidance counselor period when all of a sudden the guidance counselor had to worry about health and safety and drugs, and they got into a regulatory fighting, and they got out of their career path game, right?
So on the $100 million plan, we're talking about how you guys had built the 10 years of momentum, and then all of a sudden.
Okay, so now we got cash on the balance sheet. Now the associates are saying, we're not getting anything for our cash. What are you doing about it, right? And so we looked at our next 10-year plan, and we saw some headwinds. We saw a headwind in 25. We see a headwind in 2030. Okay. So we incorporated that, saying, okay, if we're going to have these headwinds in these periods of time, what do we do right now to be able to make certain that if there is this headwind, we're not going to have our people suffer, jobs are going to be secure. And so we then studied the marketplace to try to figure out what happens in downturns and where do you want to be. And as you can see right now, is you want to be in rental income, all right? Because in a downturn, it's not a lot of people. It's steady investments, it's steady returns, and hell, right now, there's a 32% increase in like rental properties in New York going on right at the moment. Okay.
Right.
So what we decided to do is, how much did we need to invest that if we were going to take a 30% hit in our earnings during the two downturns, what could we do to replace those earnings now? So we took the next $100 million and started a big real estate project. Okay, that'll add millions, or at least 1 million square footage. Okay.
Wow.
And then you calculate what your square footage is and the cost to develop it. And so the 100 million is going to go towards allowing our associates to have 10 million a year as a contingency in case their earnings would fall off on the organic business.
So you're creating.
This is what happens when you understand business. Okay?
It's it.
Crazy.
But it came from your people. They were concerned about not only the downturns, but what are we going to do with the capital that we've helped create? Which is a great question.
Give you a lot of work.
That's awesome.
Go out and work for a living.
I love it. Well, and you rewind that all the way back to one of your first comments about how you get young people to understand the future. I mean, this is the evidence.
Once you get them turned on, once you get them to get it, it changed their lives forever.
Because they can apply that at home.
And you can spin off a business with them too.
Okay.
And you're going to need people to be able to grow. And so why wouldn't you want to create your own training program? You get nothing, or you lose nothing as a result of the education that you give somebody.
Right.
Okay.
No, it's a self-fulfilling environment that way.
When people know where money's going, they don't really ask any questions. I mean, they really don't. I mean, they don't ask whether there's deceitfulness or there's fraud or everything else, because everything's got a balance, okay?
Right,
And, most people don't know that the average manufacturing company makes less than 5 cents on the dollar. Okay, where do they get these ideas that they make all this kind of money? And it isn't until you get them to understand that. I had one person, when I told him we only made 5 cents a dollar, he said, well, why are you in business?
I know some software guys that would say, what are you doing? I think that's great. Well, one of the things that we teach inside of our organization is we actually lay out a dollar bill, and it shows where every penny goes of the dollar bill, so that everybody, that's what we got left, and we calculate the taxes and all the kind of stuff.
We use the bucket theory. We say that there's only 7 buckets cash goes in, and then the idea is to figure out how to put a little bit in every bucket, And the challenge is to be as balanced as you possibly can. So
for sure. So how do you take a environment where you've got all the flexibility and all the moving and get everybody focused on creating safety in the business. I mean, how do you know how much safety to create, how much equity or cash to keep on hand in order to make sure that you've got the right insulation?
I think that's a really good question. First of all, it depends on the structure of the company, okay? Ours, we have an extreme structure because we have to pay the employee owners. Okay?
Yeah.
And when you got employee owners that are really doing well and moving that stock price up really high, and let's say you get an evaluation on 11 times multiple for $1 worth of profit, you are forced to be able to think about how am I going to cover that spread.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
And what you then do is you outline what the situation is, and then you seek resolutions to it, okay? This is ultimately what got us into being able to start business with the idea of selling them. Because there's more profit in terms of selling businesses than there is building a company and selling it for its individual worth is, okay?
Yeah.
So that's why we got into these 60 businesses, okay? To be able to add liquidity to our balance sheet, okay? To be able to pay the exiting shareholders that were going to exit in 19 and 20, which they did in the hundreds.
Right.
Okay, and cover that spread in terms of the strategies of the company going forward. That's why we entered into joint ventures with the idea of getting a partner that's more than willing to buy it at a predetermined multiple, okay, at a given period of time to build an annuity that you can then cash in and then make certain that the employees are going to benefit from that investment.
So you've got a strategy for all of it, but you didn't know at first, but you were developing.
It happens when you open up the box. It's once you open up this discussion, okay, of determining how much I should have on my balance sheet, or what should I have in reserves, or what problems do I have to have, okay? Those are the greatest questions to ask.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because then you seek solutions, and once you find the solutions, you then fix the balance sheet and you fix the strength. I mean, I started out at 89 to 1 debt to equity, okay? So you don't get it, you don't get any lower than that, okay? And I started out with $9 million worth of debt with only $100,000 worth of equity. That's all we could raise. And interest rates were 18%. So maybe we learned right at the very beginning to have a strategy.
Yeah, like the only reason you're here is because you built it, I think.
Well, the only reason we're here, we were able to shovel our way out of the debt and shovel our way out of the interest expenses. Yeah. And then once you take a leveraged company and you make it successful, the earnings of that company or the value of that company just explodes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then that was a problem for us. We had to sit there and go, oh my God, we've created this thing. Now what are we going to do with it?
Yeah.
So there's no end to the journey. Even when you get to the point where, wow, we should sell this thing because it's so valuable. Right. That alone becomes a challenge.
Yeah, it does, for sure. Well, so you talked about the employee stock ownership program.
Yeah.
Some companies love the idea, some not so much. Yeah. What has made it so near and dear for you guys?
Okay, I'm going to tell you why we love it. And it's something that a lot of people that have this idea that they're not getting their fair value addresses at the same time. We sold into the ESOP a little bit at a time. Okay. So let's say we started out at 10 cents a share. And about 3 years later, we were at like $1.60 a share. And we put our first $500,000 into the ESOP, okay? Company was valued at a greater price than that, all right? But we wanted to have as broad-based ownership program as we can. So let's say the original shareholders now have only, they got in at 10 cents a share. Some of them can cash out at $1.60 a share, some of them can stay in at $1.60 a share, but we broaden the base relative to the shareholder being ESOP, right? In that period of time, since 1987, all the way till Obama got elected, okay, because we didn't think he was very favorable on ESOPs, we were not 100% ownership. I mean, the people sold into the ESOPs
over time,
and the ESOPs bought it over time, okay? So we had shareholders, original shareholders that had 10 cents a share, went to an ESOP that cashed out at $300 a share.
Wow.
All through that process. And that's what a long-term player doesn't understand. See, what will happen is that they think they want to go ESOP, so they'll go praise it on a market value, and the market value will be really high. You praise it on a private market, you get discounted to go in private, right? So then the guy looks at it and said, oh my God, I'm leaving all this on the table. Well, he doesn't realize that if you sold it proportionally over time, you'd ride the success of the ESOP program, because now you got all your shareholders going after the same thing, and it brings your original value up to the ceiling.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
That's a story that's not told. That's a story that they don't understand.
Yeah.
They're just cut off right away, is that the instant gratification is that I'm going to leave $1 million on the table because it's an ESOP as opposed to a marketplace. Right? And I wouldn't do it that way. I mean, I could take his $1 million and figure out 5 years later at a 15% growth, I'll triple that damn thing. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you think it's appropriate for most all size businesses, or is there a point?
I don't see why not. I don't see what the harm is, other than some people are charging so much money to be validated and can, all the legal requirements that go. They said that there's I've heard in the old days it used to be 500 people or more. Now we're at least 50 people or more. It works well for.
Yeah, there's definitely a price to admission, the regulatory burdens and everything. But like you, I can see that it would have the potential to really.
Oh, I think if the government was going to subsidize anything, they should be subsidizing those events.
Makes a lot of sense.
Oh my God, the return is incredible.
Yeah, that's cool.
And people look at ESOPs as a tax issue, and it really isn't, because all of the taxes it's pushed on to the shareholder. Company gets to use all their working capital the entire time. Right. And then they only pay it out when the shareholder leaves. And then the shareholder then pays the taxes on it, so it's not a tax exempt situation. Right.
It changes when and how you can invest. I get it. How do you think you've seen that transform the individual as they, you talked earlier about the WIFM.
I love it, because they take it home. People like to they like to go home smart. Yeah. They'd like to go sit around the table and say, let me tell you about the marketplace, okay? Let me tell you about what percentage we have and what our plans are in order to be, And then they go to church, and they go to social clubs, and they go to bars, and they talk about, you put the right thing in the right people's minds, interesting things happen to people, okay? Yeah. And they start enjoying things more. I mean, that's why we do this massive high involvement planning process where we do financial plans with everybody in the company, and they vote on whether they should accept it or not.
Oh, really?
Yeah. How many people would take their business plans and say, okay, you guys vote on this now. You all had a piece of this thing. Now, what's the buy-in? Yeah. Okay.
And have you ever had one of your ideas?
Oh, some of them will be, some of them you'll get 87%, some of them you get 92%, Some of them you get 77%. If one of the subs had a bad period of time, if they missed maybe a bonus program, or they didn't make popcorn when they should have filled out the evaluations. I mean, there's all kinds of things that trip you up.
You talk about active involvement in the business, and that being a key component to everything that helps you guys. Tell us a little bit more about what that means. I mean, people obviously, they have a day job.
Okay, but let's go beyond what we were just talking about, taking it to the family. Okay, when they take it to the family and they start understanding the importance of budgets, they understand the importance of cash flow, and that mindset sets in, then they become financially stronger. Okay? Yeah. But we also do it to the community. I mean, any kind of boards that we sit on, any kind of communities that we invest in, we want to absolutely make certain that there is some form of financial literacy inside the institutions. Okay, whether it's the Boys and Girls Club or whether it's United Way. Okay, we insist upon the fact is that we need to be teaching financial education, financial literacy. Yeah. I just read something from Harmony House that says that 99% of the abuse cases are a direct result of financial literacy. Oh, okay, 99% of the abuse cases start with financial literacy. If we know all these statistics, then why aren't we doing something about teaching people? Yes. This is what drives me crazy. We were more than willing to try to figure out how to be able to donate to handle the victims instead of going there and trying to figure out what created victims in the first place. Right. So
on when you talked about active involvement, you're talking about community involvement.
Yeah, we take it full circle. Talk about churches. We're not afraid to tell a church they're not doing the right thing. Hey, Dave Ramsey is incredible. Read Dave Ramsey's stuff about bringing people into the game.
Everybody levels up.
Everybody levels up, and then yes, it's incredible.
So on a day-to-day basis, how much time and energy is the individual putting into the financial literacy piece?
Mentally or physically?
Well, I guess a little bit of both.
So you get both with this. Yeah. whether that person is building that vehicle or that person is building that component, that person knows all the cost structures inside of that thing. They know all the right moves to make. They know how fast they got to make it by. Okay, they know the competition, who they're out to play, and they know what they need to do to be a brand, to be a name, to be proud, to have a stake in the outcome.
Yeah.
You know?
So good.
Yeah.
How long does it take before it clicks, generally?
I don't know. Some people you're going to have to take a crowbar to. You know? I mean, seriously, some of it is just, don't ever expect everybody to buy in, okay? And they're not, okay? But if you get 60, 70% of the buying in, that's an unbelievable force, okay? That's an incredible force. That's an incredible flywheel that spins that off to other people. And you know, once they get rolling, once they truly understand it, they really want to share it with somebody else because it works. Right. You want to share things that really feel good. You want to share things that.
Well, positive energy facilitates more positive energy. It's gonna, So taking a little bit of a step back, where do you think so many companies get strategy wrong? Where do they?
Well, I don't think they have strategy. I don't think they do long-term planning. I think you know, if you don't have strategy with a plan, to me, you don't have a strategy. You got a wish. Okay? I mean, you got a gut feeling. I mean, it's not until you accumulate as much of the data as you possibly can from as many people as you possibly can, and info, you know it better than your organization. Well, That's what you do. I mean, you collect all the data for them to make a right decision. That's it. I was talking, you were asking me about the people, the young ones today. And I said it depends on what year you're talking about, okay? I mean, there was a period of time not too long ago that kids were coming out of these think tanks, these entrepreneur centers, innovation centers, where they were all pumped up, said that there's no way that they could lose, there's no way that they can fail, that the power of the multiple is what you got to be thinking about. I mean, I had people come into my office, and I would ask them, where did you think this business was worth $2 million? They said, well, I went to school. And then I went out into the community and I went to all these think tanks, and what everyone told me is that I should not sell it for less than this. I said, well, how many sales do you have? He said, well, we haven't any sales right now. Okay, the whole thing was totally counterintuitive, okay? And we lost a lot of people, okay, because they weren't prepared to be entrepreneurs. They weren't prepared to be successful. They wanted to go to a cocktail party and said, I'm $1 million company, okay? And they, even if they got a chance, they outgrew their cash flow. Because nobody told them about cash flow. Okay.
So it's back to the fundamentals.
So that's another reason why we like to teach the game, is to prevent the failures. If there's 660,000 businesses that fail annually in the United States today, how come we're not working on the failures? Okay.
In the fundamentals.
How come we're taking that money and we're putting it in the startups? Okay, and we're not giving it ongoing concerns. Well,
that's the whole point of what we're doing, is trying to drive that literacy into the business. That's it. That's exactly it. And I think I heard you allude to one of my favorite topics, which is to love the truth. And I think that there are so many.
Sets you free, right?
I think there's so many business owners that operate with blinders, or
but they don't know though. They don't know. So many of them can't read a balance sheet.
That's fact.
Okay.
It's a little scary.
Come on, there's a lot of dirty secrets in business. Okay. And one of the biggest secrets is they don't know.
And they don't want to say they don't know. But if you're willing to, and then you're willing to actually learn it, it does set you free.
I think you only learn through teaching it. I don't think you learn it. I think you got to teach it. Have someone say, well, I don't understand what you're saying, and then you go back and you try to figure out how to communicate it properly. I mean,
then you really know it.
And nothing ever starts out to be exactly what it is when it ends. Okay, but you got to understand what the middle is, right? You adjust. You adjust. It's the same thing as that. The people that have started businesses that just put it together as it happened. Okay, but they could only do that because they told stories. They told stories about the company. They told stories about what needs to be done. They were transparent, and they were trusted. You know.
That makes me think of the saying as it relates to presentations. There's the presentation you prepare to give, there's the one that you actually give, and then there's the one that you wish you would have given. And business is a little bit like that. You kind of think your way through it.
I had a similar experience with you when I was doing the 417 Summit Thought, and I'd written out this really great speech. I did not have any overheads, okay? And I sat through the entire meeting and said, we got to get some laughter in this place. And then I'm going to end on this boring written speech, and so I'm sitting backstage trying to figure out should I or shouldn't I? Should I get rid of this speech? Should I just go wing it and see if we can leave on a laughing note? And it's really rare for me to do something like that. Let's just rip it up and say, shit, let's just go with it.
Starting over.
Yeah, right.
I love it. But that applies to everything in business.
Exactly.
You've got to be adaptable.
You only find out when you're halfway in. Okay, that's what I think.
Yeah.
Now that doesn't mean you can't build contingencies. Okay, you got to have that.
100%.
And that's one of the things we're really good at, is that we don't only accept the sales forecast. We want to know what happens if something happens to that sales forecast. What are you going to do? And that's the contingency in the trap door. Okay. So we're very labor intensive right now. So if anything happened in a forecast, somebody could lose their job. So we had to go to the extra step, the extra level, saying, okay, I accept your forecast, but what is going to happen if we hit a pandemic? What's going to happen in terms of making absolutely certain that we have the proper amount of labor hours, proper amount of dollars inside the company? And so that's one of the I think, our strengths, is we got a contingency for everything.
No, I love that. I've always built our business with the idea of contingencies, but I've not taken it to the actual sales funnel itself. Like, okay, we're counting on this. We've got the verbal, we've got the commitment, but what if it doesn't happen? What are we going to do?
And a lot of salespeople, I mean, I see a lot of companies, and I'll say, if you went to ask your sales and marketing manager what the sales number is, the typical answer would be by the sales and marketing manager is, well, what number do you want to hear? Okay, that's not the idea of ownership. Okay, the ownership is, you give me the number.
What are the facts?
That's back to your facts and truth, right?
That's exactly right. It'll hit you upside the head sometimes.
But I also like the idea that the more you educate, the more they then take ownership of their own facts. And I think that's what's really important.
And I'm sure you see people challenge the numbers at times that they don't believe or don't buy into.
Yeah, but I'll tell you one thing. There's something really cool a lot of people don't know about, and this is really kind of an interesting secret. When you have a number and everybody's focusing on it, as it gets close and the deadline comes in, right? It's amazing the lift. There's a lift that occurs if someone is relatively close to hitting that deadline, but just needs something in order to hit it. I mean, I've seen it where someone says, well, geez, we're only $10,000 away from hitting the 5th level bonus program. Unbelievable things happen at that
Somehow
lift.
it appears.
Like manufacturers are notorious for shipping the last day of the month, right? Well, that's because the deadline is there. So when you have this deadline, and then it gives people the rallying cry. It gives them, once you get the lift, and then once you got the accomplishment, then you got the celebration. Then you got the high fives and and then they think, well, I never thought I could do that. Well, where do you think you got it? You got it from the lift. Right? That's the secret, is the lift.
I love it. That is some good nuggets there. Well, Jack, any closing advice that you would?
No, I just heard what you were doing, and I think it's absolutely extraordinary what you're doing. I think it's a period of time that we are. I also stated this at the summit. I just think we're taking our eye off the small businesses. I think small business is the backbone of our society. Our media still pays too much attention to big companies, and there needs to be an avenue where businesses are appreciated. Small businesses are appreciated again. And so I think, you're not going broad with the idea of trying to do too many things. You're focused on a specific issue, and that's the lift or grit that it takes to be able to run the business. And I think that if you stay relevant, if you stay on the topic of the day, it'll be a tremendous success. I don't doubt that at all. So my hat's off to you guys.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Well, here, I know you're not drinking beer today, but cheers to you, and thanks for owning your journey. Appreciate it.